inside my mind. I'm walking through the clouds. I can open up my mouth, my words can make a sound.
The story of Juneteenth starts on June 19th.
It's my paradise because it's in my head. I'll be there till I'm dead, hanging on by a thread. Rock and roll. When I'm asleep, I think that I'm awake. To escape this reality, I'll do whatever it takes.
Peace. Did you know that there are actually 2 calendar dates known to 2
You said Juneteenth is not just an African American.
This is why black women should always be singled out. Meet
John Brown Russwurm was an abolitionist newspaper publisher.
So a local city put out this morning that they would be closed on June 20th to celebrate Juneteenth. And you wouldn't imagine yes, the fuck you would imagine what the white people had to say about it. Faye was so fucking angry that she just got downright fucking racist about black people having a holiday. But do they not realize that white people can just fucking celebrate it too? You can just throw up your goddamn barbecue. You can also take the day off paid if you're a government worker and you're white. Like, just because it's a holiday that celebrates black people for one fucking instance in this goddamn piece of shit racist country doesn't mean that white people don't also get to fucking celebrate the day. I'm going to be celebrating with all of the black people because I don't believe that Independence Day being July 4th is right when all of America wasn't free on that day.
If I'm white, can I celebrate Juneteenth? And the answer is yes. Even if they are descendants of former slave owners, you can celebrate the freedom of the enslaved just as much as a person whose ancestry is from being in slavery. Slavery is our past, freedom is our present and our future. My grandmother has always said Juneteenth is a unifier. It's a bridge that can bring folks together. And the way I see it is you get a chance to talk about Juneteenth, what it represents.
What is Juneteenth, you ask? Juneteenth is the commemoration of when the enslaved were told they were free. On the 19th day of June in 1865.
The story of Juneteenth starts on June 19, 1865, 2.5 years after the Emancipation Act ended slavery in Confederate States. Major General Gordon Granger and Union soldiers delivered the news that slavery had ended to 250,000 people who were still enslaved in Texas. Black Americans celebrated. Freedom brought huge progress in the years after the war. Literacy rates jumped 70% in the subsequent 40 years, and 22 Black Americans were elected to federal government. But when Reconstruction ended in 1877, attempts to build communities were met with violent attempts to restore the power imbalance of the pre-civil rights years. Throughout the 1900s, Juneteenth celebrations continued, highlighting advancements within the family and community and honoring ancestors. In 2016, Opal Lee, an activist in Fort Worth, Texas, set out to make Juneteenth an official holiday. By walking from her home in Texas to Washington, D.C., she
promotion did superstar Billy Graham win his last pro wrestling championship? We've all heard of this one.
Championship Wrestling from Florida, Florida Championship Wrestling.
That is not what I have. Now, I'll say this. Pollo, you spoke with a lot of confidence there. That's making me second guess the my own research, because my answer says the NWA, Florida heavyweight title in 1984.
Honey, go back and look. The NWA, remember, is the National Wrestling Alliance.
Sure.
They partnered with Championship Wrestling from Florida, or Florida Championship Wrestling, where the main title was the Florida heavyweight title.
You're right. I think Spencer.
Obviously, I'm right, darling. I'm a genius when it comes to the territory system.
On June 19th, 1865, the General Gordon Granger rode into Galveston and delivered General Order Number 3. It was an announcement. And I thought to myself, this is a holiday about an announcement. Juneteenth is a public speaking holiday. But why don't I know about this General Order Number 3? Out of all the speeches I've read, I've never read General Order Number 3. Nor has it been read to me in school. So I looked for General Order Number 3, I read it, and I'm going to share it with you. This is what General Order Number 3 says. The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights
To play the outward appearance of the character as a quality results in a very stiff portrayal. In other words, if you end up saying, he's a hero, I will therefore look heroic, you're dead. What you have to do, think about it in emotional terms. What is it to be an orphan? What is it to be different? What is it to be an alien? What is it to have lost one home? And the result, when you plug into all that stuff, is a tremendous need and generosity for other people. So that is the organic source of his heroic action. So now you're acting something you can understand rather than just posing.
They got this whole given our report card grade, and we're here for it. We got TikTok. Better be a class clown or something. Excuse me? I mean, that's probably wise, so.
What would happen to me the next day? Day to day, living in low gear for me.
Peace. Did you know that there are actually 2 calendar dates known to 2 particular African American communities as Freedom Day or Jubilee? New Year's Day, the Gullah Geechee people of Charleston, South Carolina, and throughout the Southeast region known as Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor. And June 19th, the African American community of Galveston, Texas. And while there are local traditions to observe these dates in Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor and throughout Black Texas, these 2 dates serve as bookends for the emancipation of all African American descendants of the enslaved, liberation from chattel slavery. And while Juneteenth is now a federal holiday observed nationally and even globally, it's good to remember the significance that these dates hold locally. Because in remembering the local jubilation in Charleston, South Carolina on January 1st, 1863, the night after Watch Night, when the community had stayed up to the late hours awaiting the reading of Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation,